about it while Tim was talking, and I realized that it's not necessarily to get out of debt. What I wanted to do is give my wife the life she deserves, because she supported me through a lot. We've been through a lot of bad things together, and she's been there. My family has been there for me, and it's a powerful business, and these people that you meet are just very, very influential. And anyways, I'm going to talk to you about how the residual income has affected me and really changed our financial situation. I'm a full-time firefighter. Been a fireman for 15 years. That was always my goal. My goal was to become a firefighter, and I did that. And you know, it wasn't without obstacles, but I got there. And I love my job, but it's almost been taken away from me 3 times. What happened is in 2002, my wife just gave birth to our second child, who was 4 days old. I went to a doctor's appointment, and they told me I had an aortic aneurysm at 31 years old. It's very uncommon at that age. They didn't have any rhyme or reason why it happened, and they told me my career as a firefighter was over. And I was devastated, and my chain of thought was not worrying about dying. It was worrying about losing my job. That was my chain of thought. Well, it didn't even process that I could die. I have 2 little boys. One of them's about to turn 12 and the other one's 8. But he was 4 days old, and they told me I could die. And I didn't think about it, that I wouldn't be around to raise my children. It was life-changing. I was out of work. I was out of work for a year. I had surgery on January 2nd of 2003. I was out of work for a year. But one of the hardest lessons I realized is that we were living a lifestyle that was dependent on a second and third income, which I was working all these jobs. I was a roofer on the side. I drove tractor trailer. I've tried multiple businesses. I ran a store. I had a dump truck, you know, and I realized that my lifestyle had been, I was dependent on these incomes that I had just lost, and we were building a load of debt, and it wasn't looking good. Well, I got back to work, and we struggled, so I had to go back to a second job, and I went back to truck driving. I didn't think the roofing was a good idea anymore because of the aneurysm thing, but they did allow me to go back to being a firefighter, so I was happy about that. Well, now I've been at the fire department for 15 years, and again, I do love my job. And what's happened with this business is my whole chain of thought has changed, because now I go to work for 48 hours a week, and I'm trading my time for money, and I actually go to work and I'm frustrated to be there because I feel like I'm losing money where I could be out helping other people change their success. And it's tough to go to work now. It's amazing, but I got to finish the story how this all came about. So I was driving tractor trailer on the side for 3 years, and I did have the pleasure of being home with my kids one day. My wife had to go back to work. She was a stay-at-home mom, and she didn't even know this was all going on. She's at work. One of my coworkers calls me up and asks me if I could help him on a roof, and I needed the money. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. I didn't think it was a good idea, but I did it anyways. So I was watching my kids, didn't tell my wife. I go up there to help this guy on the roof. His daughter was watching my kids, and I fell off the roof. I wasn't there 20 minutes, I fell off the roof head first. And I was out of work again, right back in the same position. And my wife has always supported me, and she's been there for everything. So she got to the hospital, and she's not upset, and some of the people there are like, man, she's cold. What it is she's dealt with all this stuff so long that it's like another day at the office for her. But so I was out of work again for 4 months, And we're back in that same position, struggling. And I came back to work, went back to truck driving, and 3 years later, you know, I was living my life like this, but I wasn't happy about it. You know, you're working at the fire department, driving tractor trailer. Every day I'm not at the firehouse. So I was working and I wasn't getting ahead. I was just maintaining my bills, and it was frustrating. Well, that's the way things were going for 3 years, and I was home one day, and one of my coworkers at the fire department asked me if I wanted to go snowmobiling. So I said, sure, let's go. And about 10:30 at night, I hit a tree at over 50 miles an hour on my snowmobile. Almost died again, and I'm laid up, out of work, and one of my coworkers invited me to take a look at our business presentation, and I couldn't wait. I was so excited to go look at this presentation because I had heard about Ambit, but I never looked at it. I picked him up. I had a cast on my arm, and I drove one arm in a snowstorm to go see this presentation, and I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought it was too good to be true, but, you know, Rob Marcioni was up there in the front of the room, and, you know, being in the state pension system, I felt that this guy's not going to risk his career as an attorney for some scam. So that made me feel at ease about the business. And then it was right when the economy was really starting to go bad. And I'm thinking, who am I going to get to invest $429? To me, at that time, it was a lot of money. Well, I went home and I made the first mistake a lot of us make in this business. I explained it to my wife, and all she heard was the investment, and we didn't have it. I started calling them a lot. I wanted to know what I was doing. I was going out, I was going to start talking to people, and I wanted to know what I was doing. And my sponsor, so for anybody in here who complains that they don't have support or whatever, my sponsor told me to stop calling him. That's what he told me. I signed up with this guy, and then he told me to stop calling him. So thank God that there's other people in our line, and Ray Monty gave me his card, and he said, if you ever need anything, give me a call. He didn't know what he was in for. Because in my mind, I said, if I want to make good money in this, I'm going to latch on to the guy who's making all the money. So Ray gave me his card, and I just started following everything he taught me. I just absorbed it all. And, you know, they were talking about the importance of the web trainings. You know, as we progress in this business, the first time you watch these web trainings, it doesn't make a lot of sense to you. It just seems simple. It's the same thing every week. But as you progress in this business, so what happened is 4 months into the business, my first residual income check was $13.90. And I was all excited. I called Ray up, I go, I got a residual income check. He goes, what is it? So it was $13.90. And you couldn't wipe the smile off my face. So my first residual was $13.90. January 15th, 2010, my residual income check went up to $477.35. Now, you know, an extra $400 or $500 a month, I believe, will change most people's financial situation. I think you would all agree with that. I was excited about that as an SC, and it was incredible. 2010, I kept pushing. You know, I wanted to become an SC or an EC. Obviously, that's our goal. And I had all this momentum. But what I did is, 2011, my residual income check went up to $5,288.10. And just multiply that times 12. It's pretty awesome. I mean, I work 48 hours a week, and I only make about $55,000 a year at the fire department. And here in 22 months, my residual income is, when that comes in on the 15th every month, which continues to grow, is at least $65,000 if I don't get out of bed. And that's a pretty good feeling. And I was gathering gathering customers, I called up my father-in-law. Ivan, you want to stand up? There he is. I called up my father-in-law and I asked him to be my customer, and he told me no. He told me no, and I was actually very upset inside, because my thought was that he didn't trust me, and that wasn't the case. I was thinking, here's a guy he's done so many things for me, and all I wanted to do was save him money on his electric bill, and he told me no. So it was tough to take, but I let it go, and February of 2010, Ray was coming into town, and I called up a bunch of people that had been blowing me off, and I said, listen, I don't want you to do the business. I don't want you to be my customer. I got the #1 income earner in New York State coming into town. Will you do me a favor and just come fill a seat? I'm worried that nobody's going to show up. And they did. They showed up. They showed up, and I actually got 5 consultants out of it that day. And after the presentation, my father-in-law came up and gave me a hug, told me he was proud of me, and he said he'd be my customer. And I told him I don't need any more customers.